Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Tortuga Gamescast. This is our weekly video game podcast where we talk about the latest news and give impressions on what we've been playing. I'm your host Derek, and this week I am joined once again by Cam.
Hi.
And this week we've had some really exciting things to talk about. I've been looking forward to getting a chance to sit down and discuss some of the news from Gamescom. Exciting time of year, maybe not as big as E3 as far as new announcements go, but you get a lot of hands-on impressions, and over the years it seems like more and more does get announced there. So this year we've got some exciting things there, and some other impressions and things as well, as always, from what we've been playing. But I wanted to start with talking about Microsoft. They had kind of a big presence at Gamescom this year, really pushing the Xbox One X. And one of the big announcements that we saw was they announced the Xbox One X Scorpio Edition, Project Scorpio Edition, which this is pretty cool. We lamented a little bit back when they announced that it was going to be called the Xbox One X, that we thought Scorpio was a better name. So giving some acknowledgement to that, they know that they called it this for a long time, and it was kind of loved by some people, particularly maybe they're hardcore fans.
It just sounds a lot cooler.
Yeah, it does. I like the name. And what this is, it's not... The console itself isn't too different, but the box itself has a special design on it that's kind of like these green dots. And then you get... On the controller, it says Scorpio Edition. Kind of like if you remember the Xbox One X, when it first came out, had the Day 1 edition for people who pre-ordered or picked it up in that first wave. So it's just... This is the first wave of the Xbox One X. So anyone who pre-orders... We'll get that special edition, always have that controller, and always have the box.
It's not like a huge difference in the way that it looks. It's like a really small amount.
The box itself, yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, they've added... What they added for people that ordered in the beginning, I mean, it's relatively small, the letters and differences on it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like a huge popping thing.
You know that you got one of the first ones.
Yeah, and it doesn't make it special. I think it does... I think it's pretty smart for Microsoft. This kind of thing does give an incentive to pre-order. I thought when they did it with the Xbox One X, just even having Day 1 edition, I thought that's pretty smart, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the future we start to see Sony and maybe even Nintendo start to do something like that, because it does kind of give you, if you are a big Microsoft fan or a big Xbox fan, it gives you that extra nudge of, I want that one. I
absolutely have to, more hype, for sure.
Where I feel like I'm not going to buy on the Scorpio because I've got my Xbox One, and so I'm not going for the Xbox One X, and I've talked about that, but I remember when I got an Xbox One a few months after it came out, I kind of was bummed about the fact that it was not the Day 1 edition. So it would be cool, I think, to have that. And if it was something that Nintendo did, I think I would definitely be like, well,
that would
even Sony, I think it would push me towards it. So it's a good idea. I think it's smart.
I'd be more interested in Sony than I am in the Xbox, just because I'm so salty about their
the recent state of the Xbox. I mean, you and I were huge Xbox One. We had 2 of those. It's the only console we have 2 of still. We were all in on it. I mean, that's where we played Overwatch and played a lot of games, but this past year has just been rough. Maybe that's part of that is building up. You would think part of that could be building up and holding things back for the Xbox One X. Like the last year of the Wii U was really rough when they were saving things for Switch, but as we've gotten closer, that is not the case. We have seen Crackdown 3 delayed, pushed back to next year, which is devastating. We talked about how that and Forza were the big launch games that were coming out the same day as the Xbox One X. Now it's just Forza, which Crackdown we mentioned.
I mean, Forza is just... I mean, it's a nice game. To me, Forza... I'm not a huge Forza player, so no offense to the people that are, but to me, Forza is a game that's nice to play when there's a lull period. And a nice holiday game to kind of add, but not as a release date game. I mean, it's
certainly a technical showcase. I mean, graphically, it's going to be impressive. The car racing games, they can really push graphically, so it will be impressive in that way. But for me, racing games like that are always, even Mario Kart, something I really enjoy, or anything.
I mean, graphically is cool and everything, but I want a game.
Yeah, those are the kind of games that I'll play to take a break from the main thing that I'm playing. Like when I'm like, I've played a lot of Persona. Let me play something different tonight. I'll play Forza, or that's kind of how I treat those games. So that doesn't push me to buy. Now, some people it will. But I think losing Crackdown is devastating.
I think it's hard to be, if you're like you or I, who, if we're going to do a racing game, we're going to do Mario Kart. It's hard to be interested in every racing game. Just like to us, it's hard to be interested in every fighter game. Yeah. It's hard to be interested in Tekken and Mortal Kombat. I mean, it feels repetitive.
Yeah.
After a while.
I get that, yeah. And I think the only time that you would be is if you were just hardcore and racing sims are pretty much what you play. Right? But that's the thing. I mean, Forza, I'm more a Forza Horizon fan, where it's a little more arcadey and fun, where the normal Forza series is very sim and realistic and It's never clicked with me. The Gran Turismo or Forza have never been like my favorite thing. I think they look real pretty, technical showcase, but that's the main thing I take away.
I like to play them. I like to go into GameStop and play them as I wait.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's my fault.
Yeah,
that's my. I want to see how it operates. I want to see how it moves. I want to see how it feels. Maybe a couple levels, but I don't know that it's never been a $60 game.
I need this at home. Yeah, so it's tough. I mean, losing Crackdown, like we said, I think that's devastating. And it wasn't a beautiful game or anything, and I think there's problems clearly because Microsoft has been really hesitant to talk about it, and now they're just saying they delayed it, and their statement is, we talked about it too early. We announced it too early. That's all they're really saying. So I think that's unfortunate. I'm hearing rumors from people in the industry.
Why would you talk about it? What was their... Okay, so think back to the time where they did talk about it. Were they low on things to talk about, and so they busted it out early?
A little bit, yeah, and I think it was for an E3 hype when Xbox One was relatively new, because it's been announced for several years now. But they've gone through some development troubles. I mean, they've really completely changed what the game looks like and stuff, clearly. And I've heard some industry buzz that people kind of who might be a little bit in the know or would hear things that are worried that Crackdown may just end up getting canceled. They just really feel like it's in a bad place. So
Ooh.
That could be devastating. I mean, with Microsoft, and they've already canceled Scalebound, and now to cancel another exclusive. I mean, I don't think it's a secret at this point that they've been struggling with exclusives. And on that note, I think it's funny. We got a quote from Aaron Greenberg, who's...
Not according to them, are they struggling?
Maybe they're not, as much as we all think. But according to Aaron Greenberg, who's, a representative for Xbox and a pretty well-known one, his quote from Gamescom is that people buy Xbox because we have the biggest exclusives. Now, let that sink in for a second. People buy Xbox because we have the biggest exclusives. I could not honestly disagree with that more at this point. I mean, they are not pushing any exclusives. Their biggest exclusive titles they have, their biggest franchises, without a doubt, I would say, are Halo and Gears of War. And no disrespect to those franchises. I love Gears of War. You and I are always excited to play through Gears of War as a co-op
that game
thing.
Is amazing.
Yeah, big fans. But
it's a great co-op game. There is not a lot of couch co-op games that you can play nowadays. Yeah. And Halo is one. At least the ones that we've played were the older ones. Not the newest, but the older ones were.
Yeah.
And so is Gears of War.
Yeah. I mean, Halo, they've said that in the future they're going to bring that back because they realize it was a mistake. But my thing, though, beyond all that is, while those are big franchises, Halo, without a doubt, is their biggest. That is their biggest franchise, but it's kind of hit a rough patch. It has not been as beloved. The recent Halo, well received. People really like the online multiplayer, but it's not the same level as before. It's not selling the same level as before, right? It doesn't have the same buzz that Halo used to have.
Yeah, it doesn't have a new enough face.
Yeah, Halo has never, to me, been as big as it was in the days of Halo 2, Halo 3. Right? Mm-hmm. It just hasn't reached that again. Now, I think part of that is it's the new generation. I don't think shooters are as big as they were.
No, yeah, that and, when you start to think about how every character you play is the same, and then you compare that to a game like Overwatch, where who you play best.
The hero shooter.
Yeah, exactly, where everyone's a little bit different. You can choose to play characters a little bit differently. The meta changes a little bit.
Yeah.
And... there's more variety in that game.
Shooters have gone in that direction. That is the big pull now. And that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I'm trying to say. And Halo is still a big, important franchise. I love Halo. Don't get me wrong. I bought Halo 5 day one. But it's losing some of its attention to things like Overwatch, which is the biggest draw, or PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battleground on PC right now is the biggest game. And that's that. If you haven't seen it, it's like the Hunger Games style, survive until you're the last person on the map. Shooters are going in a different direction. And it's not the traditional direction of Halo and Gears, which are more first or third person, multiplayer, deathmatch kind of thing. It's just
I love Gears, but I like the story in Gears.
Yeah, we play it for the campaign. I don't really even mess around with the online on Gears.
No, not really.
I haven't. So it's just funny to me to claim that they have the biggest exclusives. I think that is undeniably not true. I think people play Xbox they have the best...
It's just a weird thing to say now. Yeah. In such a drought for them to say that.
It's just denial at this point. I mean, but why do people play Xbox?
As a company, be a little more self-aware.
Yeah, they have a great online, probably the best online experience for playing with friends still. But you cannot sit here and tell me, even with names like Halo and Gears of War, that you can honestly say that you think those are bigger than Zelda and Mario or The Last of Us and Uncharted.
You can't compare it when you have a lot of games that are similar to PlayStation. When you guys share a lot of the same games,
third party,
and there's another company that only has exclusives.
That thrives on exclusives. Nintendo, yeah, no doubt thrives on its exclusives. And come on, I mean, the last couple of years, Sony's exclusives, even just to compare them and Microsoft, they've blown them out of the water. I've played a handful of exclusives this year on PlayStation that have been incredibly well received. They've been very popular. It seems like they have a new one every month or two.
And you're not even digging very deep.
Yeah, and they're not hard to find. Where on Xbox, there hasn't really been a big exclusive since Gears of War last year. There just hasn't. So that is a crazy thing to say. I actually, I hate to say it, but I laughed when I saw it. I just thought it was funny. Right? At this point, you cannot make that argument. That's clearly where they are struggling. Where they're taking a hit is they are lacking in exclusive content. So I think they're aware of that too. I think that was just one of those statements to try to show confidence.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people read it and they believe it, and they.
Well, people who want to believe it.
Yeah, they completely agreed, 100%, and they're just as disillusioned as as Xbox is itself.
But certainly, most responses that I've seen to it have been, it's laughable. So that's unfortunate for Microsoft. But moving on from that, the big takeaway, I do think that the Xbox One X Scorpio is a cool nod for those big loyal fans, and I know that the pre-orders for that were a hot commodity. I don't know how numerous they were, but they did sell out quick. So maybe, I do hope for the best for them, and I don't want any of the companies to fail. Like I said, I was big on, I bought the Xbox One before I bought a PS4.
The reason we continue to get better games is because of the competition.
Yeah, and I was with Microsoft at the beginning of this generation because of things like Sunset Overdrive, and I thought their first year was actually stronger with exclusive content, but since then it's been a struggle, certainly. Sony's just kind of hit the ground running once they caught their stride. Moving on from that, though, we also saw this past week with consoles, finally, Nintendo had said that at some point this month they would release pre-orders for the SNES Classic. People were excited, looking forward to it. I was checking every day. The last thing I did before I went to bed was to make sure nothing had happened. Yes. And I was doing the same thing. Last week, it was, I think, Monday or Tuesday night, and I looked at, about midnight, nothing had happened. So I go to sleep, and I wake up in the morning to see Amazon and Best Buy had put their exclusives up overnight, and they are gone.
How could you?
And I look back, and it was like 2 and 4 in the morning when they happened.
Okay, so everybody on the East Coast that has a job,
end of the stick,
that has a job and has to get up every morning to go to work, didn't even have the option of getting no chance at all.
Yeah.
Super disappointing.
There was some West Coast bias on that one. I think for the companies of Amazon, Best Buy, it was just as soon as they were allowed to put them out, they did them as early as they could, pretty much. And I get it from their perspective, but that is so unfortunate that it wasn't more controlled.
You can't tell me that holding it for 24 hours and waiting until the next day till it's more agreeable.
But maybe they thought, we did see the next day when GameStop tried to put theirs up and their website was crashing. Maybe it was for less website traffic so that it would go smoothly. Who knows? But real unfortunate. I mean, I woke up and just thought, I've been looking forward to the SNES Classic. The Nintendo said there was going to be more, and I was like, the NES Classic, I didn't get one, and I wasn't really worried about it. I never pursued it. I didn't try, really, because I wasn't that big on it. I have most of those games on Virtual Console, and I was kind of fine with that. But the SNES is the first console I ever owned. That's where I have the most nostalgia for, so I really want it. And I was so bummed when I woke up and saw that, and I was like, okay, well, there will be some more today.
I know, okay, and, coming off of not being able to find the NES and then it being just discontinued before so people had a chance to get their minds around.
A lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, and then, I just feel like Nintendo really did us dirty again. And I'm really disappointed.
Yeah.
They said that they were going to pay attention to it, and they just didn't.
Yeah, so I was watching throughout the day, and I was on some of these sites like Target within a minute or two of it happening because I was refreshing the pages pretty quickly, and there was a short break where it wasn't there, and I refreshed and it was available, and I put it in my cart trying to check out, and then it's just error, and then eventually it says your cart's empty. So within minutes, it was impossible, which isn't that surprising, but it's so frustrating. I thought I had it because I got one in my cart.
It's not like it's not like you're a fair weather gamer. It's not like you're one of those people who had the email notification and then waited 24 hours and then tried to go get one.
I was on it within minutes, yeah.
So I feel like people that tried that hard should be able to get one.
Yeah, it's upsetting. Most people I know who wanted to get one did not get one. It's not a majority of people who want one. And this is just pre-orders. It doesn't mean it's every SNES Classic. There probably is going to be more. Nintendo says there's going to be more stock. Who knows? But however, I will say
Nintendo says a lot of things about their stock that just
stock
true.
Issues continue. But I will say, I was lucky because after I got off work, I had heard that, GameStop wasn't really doing them online and you had to go into the store to do it. And I thought, well, I'll just check. It's been hours. I live in kind of a weird area, not as busy.
You
so
can say
I'll
it.
check.
We live out in the boondocks.
Yeah, I live in the boondocks, so I was like, I'll check. Maybe, no one really cared or hasn't heard yet. Not keeping up to date as much. So I called GameStop and they said, we have 2 left. So I got there within a couple minutes, not far away from where I was. Yeah, and they still had 2 when I got there. They wouldn't let me get both, but I got one. And I have it pre-ordered, and I'm super excited. Everything I've heard about the SNES Classic has just made me want it more and more. The rewind feature, where if you mess up, you can just kind of rewind 30 seconds back and try that part again. Just so many cool things built into it for these classic games that can be pretty difficult at times. So excited that I got one, thrilled. But
what an emotional roller coaster, though.
Yeah.
I mean, there was...
And I can't help but just feel like it's going to be botched again. Maybe there will be more stock than we expect, and they just did some pre-orders to get people to stop asking about pre-orders, and it's just the limited
It's bad,
amount.
though, that we still have to continue, even though we have one for ourselves, we have to try to buy another one, because there are some people that we're friends with in our family that want one, that aren't going to get one, so you just have to continue to try to get one in hopes that you'll be able to gift it to somebody.
Yeah, I know. And I know I was talking to James throughout the day and some other people, too, that were trying to get it and just no shot. And if it wasn't for GameStop, me just getting lucky, most GameStops were out at that point. I just got lucky with the location and not being as busy out here. I got lucky, but most people did not. So it's super unfortunate, but like I said...
Any metropolitan area.
Oh, yeah, no chance. I would have no chance. But I'm super excited that I got one. I hope for anyone else who's trying to get one that it's a good situation when it comes up, but it does feel like one of those things that I paid $80 for, and I've already seen people reselling the pre-orders they got for a couple $100, $300, so it's crazy. And we don't even know what the stock's going to be like. It could be, I would be so unfortunate if you go and pay that much for one and then they end up being somewhat available. Like, if you put a little effort,
you never know.
You just don't know. Who
then
knows?
You take that gamble and then they're not available, and then
most likely they're not.
To
most likely they're not. So, tough. It's a tough situation, but in the end, I'm super excited that I got one. I cannot wait to try it out and show you some of these games that I know that you aren't familiar with from the SNES. It comes with 2 controllers. There's some cool multiplayer games there. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. So much nostalgia, just fun to have, but it has been stressful like most pre-orders from Nintendo are. The big one for me recently is there are certain amiibo that I still have not gotten that no matter how hard I try, I can't get them. And mainly those ones that make exclusive to retailers can really be difficult. The Switch was so difficult for a lot of people. Just this recently am I starting to actually see stock in stores sometimes. Right? Not for long term, but they're there sometimes. I think they're finally starting to catch up to where they might be there somewhat regularly, right? Until the holidays, and I'm sure they'll be gone again. But it's a difficult situation with stock. Nintendo always seems to... I mean, of course, you want to under-provide rather than over-provide, I guess. But it's unfortunate that there's clear demand that's not being met with these classic editions, clearly. Beyond that, we did get some other exciting news from Gamescom. With the bigger game announcements, we saw 2. First, I want to talk about Jurassic World Evolution.
Ooh, that looks fun.
Yeah, I was pretty excited about this one. They definitely captured that kind of feeling of Jurassic Park in this trailer. So this is basically Roller Coaster Tycoon, but you are building your own Jurassic Park, right? And you have to make the enclosements. Sometimes the dinosaurs will get out. You have to try to contain them, tranquilize them if they get out of hand. And you're building all those buildings. You're also building the attractions for the people. You could see those very Jurassic Park looking huge museum buildings with like the straw roofs and things going up. So it was just awesome. They nailed the music, and of course the trailer cut out to show you the title, then comes back for like a T-Rex roaring, stomping on a Jeep, and I was just like, man, this is great. I heard someone recently, and I can't remember where it was from, but I heard someone mention that for their childhood, Jurassic Park was like the Star Wars of their childhood for the generation, and I think that's true for our generation.
Oh yeah, because I mean, for me especially, because we didn't. I liked more actiony stuff as a kid. I'm not saying that Star Wars wasn't actiony.
Yeah.
But it's a little harder to follow. You definitely have to be really interested, and you have to follow it. In Jurassic Park, you can just come in on any part and see somebody killing a dinosaur killing somebody, or if you're me, I had daydreams about that ice cream smorgasbord.
When they're feasting before the raptor attack.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I dreamt about that.
For me, but I mean, you think about it,
I didn't get to Star Wars until I was older, though.
Well, the original trilogy way before our time, and then they ended up coming out with the prequels when I was a little bit older. But Jurassic Park was right at that. I was young and loved dinosaurs, and everything was just perfect about it, like obsession with that franchise. So it is that,
the music, it was dark, it was scary, it was wet.
Yeah. So the new movies
coming out
certainly
got what he deserved.
Certainly hit nostalgia, and the game is definitely clicking with that too. I love these kind of sim games, the tycoon type games. Right now, it's announced for Xbox One, PS4, and PC. So I'll pick it up, one of those for sure when it comes out. Again, like I say, I feel like I hear myself say it all the time right now. be really cool to have it on Switch, and I think this game is certainly possible for Switch. This is something that could run there. Maybe we'll see that. Who knows? The buzz around it is really positive.
I just want to be able to play it more often because I feel like games like that you can really pick up and play.
It would be fun to play on the go, check in on your thing, and make some little changes.
If it's portable, give it to me on it.
That's what the thing with the Switch. It's not even, you know, I do love Nintendo, but it's not, I don't want
it
it there just for Nintendo. It's because to take it with you. Yeah, it's great. And for those kind of games, it makes sense. I'm not really kind of the person who's pushing for, I want Call of Duty on there. That's not where I want to play that. I want to play that on my PlayStation or my Xbox, but something like this, definitely. That'd be so cool to see there. So that looks awesome. I'm excited to hear more about that one. That's 2018, right? Sometime later. We'll see more about it, certainly. Just the teaser and the first trailer here, where they did show some gameplay footage and things. So that was awesome. And we also saw a huge unveiling of the game Biomutant, which they've said 2018. Rumors are early 2018. But, I mean, we saw gameplay. We saw trailers. This new idea that hadn't really leaked at all. And it's this full action RPG where you get to play as this raccoon-looking creature, and you get to change what they look like and things, but you're going through Biomutant. It's an animal that's obviously smart and things like that and advanced, and that most creatures in the game are animals.
Does this have any connection that you know of to Guardians of the Galaxy? Because it seems eerily similar.
No connection, but yeah, I don't think it hurts to have that Rocket Raccoon kind of feel to it. But, you know, what I've seen here, mainly fighting with swords, and there is that, like, mechanic, like, you know, you're, like, upgrading your body parts with, you know, making them mechanical and things, too. But I love the style of it when I saw it. This action RPG, you're going around fighting, and what they showed off when you're fighting, it has like the pow, bam kind of things like popping up on the screen like the old school Batman show. And I was like, it just looks so cool. It's one of those things, again, I love that idea of video games that are happy to be video games. And this is, I mean, you're talking about, this is from the developers of Just Cause. So craziness where there's going to be paragliding and things like that. And then they showed like these vehicles, one that was a hand that walked around like with the fingers moving, and then it would like stop and make like a gun with the hand and shoot at people. Like the characters riding that around fighting. And the gameplay they showed looked pretty cool. I mean, I think there are probably some improvements still that can happen graphically and things like that. But I'm into it for sure already. This is something that's really caught my interest. I can't wait for it. It's one of those things that just seems fun as a video game. So I think this one had a really great reception also. Both of these games, I would argue that they might have been more positively received than people would have expected. Just the right time to announce them. I'm glad they announced them here and not at E3. I think a lot more attention for them, because these are like the two biggest game announcements from Gamescom now, where at E3 they would have been steamrolled by a big thing. So very smart to hold it back a little bit longer. You know, they are 2018 games anyways, so they probably could have showed them there, but I think smart to show it here, and you get a lot of attention. You know, there was still, we got to see new gameplay footage of things like Far Cry and Assassin's Creed and all these big games at Gamescom, and that's exciting too, but you've already heard about those, so something brand new like this does draw even more attention. Yeah, I mean, but I will say Assassin's Creed Origins looks awesome. They've added so much RPG elements to that, the new gameplay videos. Really excited about that one. So, a lot of cool, fun stuff from Gamescom. The other thing I know that some of you might be wondering is they announced so many other smaller indie games at Gamescom. A lot that I'm really excited about, but I want to hold that for next week just because of the amount of topics, and I want to have, you know, it might slow down after Gamescom. News usually does slow down in between these bigger events. So we'll focus on that, and also today I heard the announcement of the Nindies Direct coming this week, where Nintendo talks about some indie games coming to 3DS and Switch, primarily Switch. And so there's another one of those coming out. We had one before when the Switch was just coming out, and it was awesome. They announced so many things that we didn't know about coming to Switch. So another one of those where we'll probably hear even more about indie games, maybe some we saw here and some new ones as well. So next week I think we'll have a big focus on, here's a bunch of indie games. Maybe we just talk about the title, explain what it is briefly, and then give a quick impression of what we think about it. It'll be a big list, so that'll be fun to do as well. Before we move on, though, to what we've been playing, I want to talk about a couple other small announcements from Gamescom that are not indie games, but are DLC for Nintendo games. We've been talking about Splatoon and Arms a lot. We see new announcements for both of those. Arms in particular, the one I'm probably the most excited about. I have this thing where
you play a lot of Arms.
Play a lot of Arms. I'm going back and forth. I do play Splatoon and Arms. Generally, I think the pretty obvious consensus is people are bigger fans of Splatoon. Unsurprising.
However,
I'm not so sure. You know, I like both. They're different, but I do a lot of nights where I have a little free time and I want to play one of the online games, feel myself pulled towards Arms, and it's that character thing where I like the characters just the same way as Overwatch. There's so much personality to it, and it's fun. I kind of feel myself pulled to Arms.
And this is not to say that Splatoon doesn't do a great job of customization too.
Oh no, so much in that game is that. But you know, it's just there's something for both, and so I love both games, and I'm not complaining. You know, I think Arms is maybe a little underappreciated in my opinion. I think it's great. It's such a cool new IP. So I'm really enjoying that.
It's interesting that they came out with these 2 new IPs at around the same time. That both seem to be here to stay.
Yeah, well, Splatoon 1 right on Wii U is clearly taking off so huge in Japan. That is sticking around. ARMS, I think, we've already heard it's sold over 1 million.
Still, there was a gap, but I feel like this is a lot closer in time to some of their previous.
Well, what Nintendo had become known for in the past was never new IP, and I think they've really starting to change that perception.
So hopefully
they've spent a lot.
I
think that we're going to see that trend continue. Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely. I think Nintendo has seen that these can be successful. You don't have to always rely on the characters they have established. Kirby, Mario, Link, Metroid, and Samus. It doesn't have to be just that. Splatoon has become core for them now. I think there's no way we saw the Splatoon characters added to Mario Kart. There's no way they don't hit the next iteration of Smash. Like, they're here to stay. Right, so that's great for them. Huge
I want to see
success.
some more Splatoon swag and merchandise.
We saw a lot of it in Japan, but not much here yet.
Here.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's a process, but this has been doing great. Speaking of that, though, so before we move on to Splatoon too much, with ARMS, we saw the announcement of the next new character and map, and that's the character is Lollipop, and she is like.
I love characters that have food stuff.
I know, right? The candy
it really
theme.
Does
She's a
it
candy
for me.
themed clown. She has like taffy arms. Her hair is like a lollipop taffy kind of look, and she is a clown. So I've heard a lot of people being like. That automatic reaction of I hate clowns, clowns are creepy, this is too close to it coming out, and all those kind of things. And I'm like, I don't know, I didn't have that. I'm not even a big fan of clowns.
She's too fun, She wasn't 100% clown. It was they did a lot of candy stuff too. So
she's got the clown nose.
She's got clown like the way that she moves and stuff, and the big pants and
shoes. Yes, there are things, but it's definitely not creepy clown. It's
no, it's not like she's squirting water and stuff. It's not like creepy.
So I'm not like a fan of clowns, but this character really spoke to me. I don't know. There's something I like about it a lot. The move set is cool. She can kind of like inflate herself, and it looks like she's the only character that can block in the air. So you can block in the air, and it'll quick drop her to the ground, but the block is up, so you could block some punches or maybe a special, even if you're up there. So that sounds really cool. That's a different kind of gameplay aspect for ARMS. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely excited to try her out. I could see her becoming one of my favorites. Right now, I'm leaning a lot on Min Min because I like that charged up dragon arm, and she's been my favorite. But Lollipop has a chance if I like the way it feels playing her. I could see myself playing her the most, maybe. I really like the style. The map is so cool, that candy cookie kind of theme, and it's got this big zigzag. So a different element where you curving punches around the corners could be huge.
It's not so open.
Yeah, and that's great for ARMS because it's all about curving the punches. So I like seeing that. You could really come up with some cool strategies there, I think. And then, of course, she has 3 new arms coming out with her as well, weapons, just like Max Brass did. And one of them is it's called the Fun Chuck. And she's got the nunchuck that she throws and it spins. The weapons, there's a shield also, and then there's a new kind of the vertical attacking weapon. But I'll talk more about those after I get to try them out. But cool that they're adding those as well. The Fun Chuck, I like. Oh man, the nunchuck thing is just cool. So I hope that weapon feels good because I want to use that too. That helped me like the character more. Then with Splatoon, continuing to add more and more like they've promised, and we come to expect now because Splatoon 1 did such a great job of it, where we see a new Salmon Run map, we see a new normal Turf War and Ranked Mode map, and we're seeing a new special coming out for Splatoon. They showed off the thing I thought was the coolest was the normal map, because it's the Manta Maria, it's like a huge ship, so it's really narrow, so you're going to have a lot more fighting on it, I think, because you can't really hide on the sides and kind of ink your own territory. It's going to be high action, but the ship is just really cool. You're out in the bay, and it's just really good looking. Looks really fun. And then the bubble special, where you like have a huge bubble wand, like from the 90s, where you make one of those massive bubbles in there, and you can do like 3 of those, then you have to shoot it when they float away, and then it'll pop ink everywhere underneath it. So that's pretty cool too. But like the big bubble wand, they're very creative with the weapons in Splatoon. They do a great job. Anything you could think of that's like water or any ink kind of theme, they've started to use those things. It's really cool. We also saw the sloshing machine. That's like the big washing machine bucket that you can throw out liquid. So I love those kind of things. That makes it just fun. Even if I'm like having a bad match, if I'm using something like that, I'm kind of like, I'll get him next time, because it just keeps you in a good mood. And then the final one I want to talk about, DLC for Nintendo on the Switch, is we had the announcement of Rocket League coming to Switch from E3. That was a big third-party support thing, the car action soccer game. And we saw, they confirmed, at the time in E3, they showed off like Mario hats and stuff for the car, which was like, oh, that's cool. It's something special for Nintendo, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Now they've shown off skins that are Nintendo Switch exclusive, where it's interesting because you can play with Xbox users, but you'll have something they couldn't get if you're playing on the Switch. And that is, there is a Mario and Luigi themed car skin, which it's not two separate skins if you've seen this announcement or wondering. It's one skin, and it depends if you're on the orange team, I think, for Rocket League, or the blue team. Whatever, the two team colors, it'll switch to be themed for it. And then they also have, the best part for me is the Samus gunship car skin. It looks so cool. It looks
good.
And there are two variants of that as well, depending on which team you're on. But that looks awesome. I mean, I want both the Mario one and the Samus one. They said they'll be there day one. You don't have to purchase them, but you do have to unlock them. So you'll have to do something in the game, but that'll be my number one goal right away, is to get both those skins, because I think that's so cool. I love seeing the nods like that from third parties. It does make me, as a big Nintendo fan, it gives that extra push of excitement for the game. Like Rocket League was something, I'll be honest, where I was like, I'm probably going to get it, but I wasn't too worried about it. I was like, I don't know. I've always heard good things, but I've never had the hands-on. I think it's one of those that once you play it, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But the idea is kind of like, seems too simple. A car with soccer, and it seems uncontrollable, but I know everyone loves it. This did give me that extra push of, I'm definitely going to get it now. I mean, it's just so cool. So it's that extra bit. It's very smart.
That really gets you, those little... Mm-hmm.
I love the nods. Yeah, the nods for Nintendo stuff. Absolutely. I talked about that with Miitopia, how you can unlock all the different skins for your characters based on so many of the amiibo, and I thought it was so cool, and then I was bummed when the stats are like not very good. So if you don't do it right at the very beginning of the game, it's not worth it, because you get better armor so much quicker. But I do love those nods, so I'm excited about that one as well. Very cool stuff there. And then I think that kind of wraps up what we're going to talk about with Gamescom this week. Like I said, much more to get to. It's just such a big topic. You know, just the two of us. We'll get to some of those smaller game announcements, which are, a lot of them are really exciting, cool things. So many games announced coming to Switch, and just other indie games as well from Gamescom. So lots of great indie support. That'll be a big focus for us next week, I think, certainly. But here I want to move on to then the what we've been playing section, as we always end with. I have a couple things to talk about there. Number one, finally, I can say that I have finished Persona 5. Definitely tricked me up with being longer than I expected. I beat the final boss and thought...
I know there was a couple of nights in a row where you're like, I'm going to finish this tonight.
Definitely several hours longer than I expected. I beat the final boss and thought I was done. Then there is another dungeon with a whole new, like, deeper story that opens up, and it catches you off guard. Was not disappointed by it at all. I loved spending more time.
I hope that's not a spoiler to anyone.
Oh, I mean, I'm not giving anything away, but, you know, the Persona games are kind of known for that extra dungeon thing, so I should have known better. But it is bigger than you think, always, right? They always keep adding the drama. So that's there. I ended up clocking out 114 hours in Persona 5 by the time I was done, but amazing, awesome game. So coming off of Zelda, which was about 115 hours for me, and then Persona, 114 hours. Wow, you know.
Yeah, you've been spending some time
on those big games, and it's, you know, I loved them. Nothing to take away from it, but I did.
Does that make you want to go into another big game or play something more?
It kind of made me want to get into something just less serious, especially after Persona and Zelda. Not to the same extent, but just how long it was. I wanted to play something maybe a little less serious, a little more video gamey. So there was two things this week. First off, because it'll be more brief because I've just started it, is Agents of Mayhem on PlayStation. That's where I'm playing that. It's PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. You can play any of those. This is from the developers that brought you Saints Row. And it came out recently, so that's one of the other reasons I was like, I can actually be up to date with something, because I tend to fall a little behind with how long it takes me to play things. Just not as much free time, you know? But this one, I'm pretty much up to date. The reviews came out, and they were, you know, good but not great. A lot of 7.5 kind of reviews for it. I understand that, I think, but when I've been playing it, I've had a ton of fun. It is arcadey fun. Driving through the streets in this, you can just whip around in these cars, and it's got the drift button.
It looks amazing.
Yeah, that part's super fun.
I have to stop and watch you play it when you're playing it, because it just looks like it's so much fun.
Yeah, and it fully embraces the Saturday morning cartoon kind of style. It is, if you're not aware, it's a third-person shooter primarily. The driving is just one thing I've really been drawn to, but it's not even the main thing. It's the third-person shooter. Think if Overwatch was a third-person game that only really focused on the campaign and story, no online shooter, because it is like that. You have all these different agents that you can control, Agents of Mayhem, and I've just started unlocking more. I think I have about 5 or 6 already, and there's plenty more. But I've just started unlocking more. You start with 3. And
I like that army girl.
Yeah, the army girl is really cool.
Really
She's tough. She's got like the assault rifle, and she's really strong. Yeah, she is. She's got some... There's
Assault
some language in this game, just
Yeah.
anytime. So know that. It's Saints Row developer, and they definitely embrace that craziness. But you can switch between the character you're controlling at any point just by pressing over on the D-pad, between the 3 at a time. Anytime you go out on a mission, you can bring 3 with you. And it's an open world, so you can explore and then return to your hub base whenever you want. If you want to change out the members, or you can unlock new skins for them and skins for their guns by doing missions. Tons of cool little side missions, whether it's a driving or stealing a car and bringing it back to a base, or even just running through the city in a time trial. They have all these kind of small little things you can do throughout the open world. It is like kind of Sunset Overdrive and it's traversal. You can like triple jump and dash in the air. So it's kind of cool. Not as free as Sunset Overdrive, not like bouncing off cars and things, but there's good momentum in it. There are faster characters, some characters that can climb walls. They all have special abilities, so a lot to unlock. I've definitely found myself drawn to unlocking more abilities on these characters. Mm-hmm. Some characters more than others. Some I'm not as drawn to, but some are really cool. I like one of the big characters.
Do they allow you to see their abilities like a tree before you get too invested in the character? Somewhat.
You get the basic idea of what they do. Now, like you'll know they have like maybe the one guy has a harpoon that he can throw, and if it hits a character, it'll like warp them an enemy right in front of him because he's a shotgun character and he can shoot them. Now, there are variants of that harpoon that do different things, maybe more damage and it doesn't warp them or something like that, where it blows up, so area damage but doesn't warp. And you don't get to see every variant, but you know what the basic idea of the abilities are. So to an extent.
That's nice. So you don't get too invested in a character and they just suck wind.
And then you don't know. Yeah, I think it seems like anyone can handle it. My favorite right now is the girl who's an archer, who she has, so you can go invisible and you can kind of snipe people from really far away. She's definitely a little slower.
You like that sneaky sniper.
I'm always about the archer things too. I like sniping and archery, so this character is like right up my alley. And then her big special ability is shooting like a poisonous arrow that blows up in an area and does a lot of damage over time. So that's right up my alley.
Oh yeah, assassin type.
Yeah.
From far away.
Those are the kind of characters I like. So she's been my favorite so far. But there's a lot of cool characters. Something for everybody, I think. There's like a Mr. Freeze character that freezes enemies and they can like punch them to do extra damage and break them and stuff. So a lot of cool kind of things. I've had a lot of fun with it. It is video gamey. I mean, I'll see what my review is in the end. But so far, I think it plays up to definitely at least that 7.5, maybe even a little better for me, if you're looking for something less serious. Mm-hmm. The story's not bad so far. It has cool cutscenes that are like the Saturday morning cartoon, hand-drawn cartoon look. And so those are kind of cool to go through. Some of the jokes are definitely can feel a little forced, or like that humor is kind of like, okay, But I think that's what they're going for. Again, it's like a cartoon, so I think it's intentional. So you just got to take it all with a grain of salt. But I've enjoyed that. And then the other main thing that I played over this past week, as I told you I would last week, is Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania came out to very high critical reception. I've been playing that on my Switch, and I like it a lot. I do have something to say about the reviews. I've seen some reviews, that are like the 8 to 8.5, and I think I agree with that. I've seen a lot of reviews that say it's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10, those kind of things. And I don't think I agree with that. Now, before anyone gets upset, and says, no, this game is amazing, I don't disagree. This is a great Sonic game, a great throwback to the older Sonic games. A lot of people have said it's the best 2D Sonic. That's arguable. Between this and Sonic and Knuckles, I think those are the best ones. I would agree. But again, it's an amazing Sonic game, but that, for me, doesn't make it a 10 out of 10 video game. I have a couple problems. Now, even before that, for me, to make it not a 10 out of 10, I've had problems on the Switch where at least twice when I've been playing, just in a high action point, it closes. The game just closes, freezes up and closes, and then I have to start those levels over again. And Sonic levels can be pretty long. I mean, you can be in a level for 6 minutes and then that happen, and that's pretty disappointing. I found that frustrating, and then I've also had one time on a particular level where the music cuts out in the middle of the level and then just doesn't come back until the next level. And that's kind of a bummer because the music is awesome. I have to say they did such a good job with the music, and that's kind of one of the highlights of Sonic. That's what makes you want to keep pressing and going fast and things, because it's really the upbeat music, it kind of pulls you in. So there are some technical issues. Nothing game-breaking. I mean, yes, it closing technically is game-breaking, but it's not so frequent that it's like, I can't do this anymore. It's happened twice in my hours that I've put in. That's unfortunate, but I think that's something that will be fixed with a patch. And I don't know if that's happening as much on other console versions, but it did happen to me on the Switch. Now, interesting, it was both times I was playing in handheld mode. Don't know if that matters or not, but that's when it happened to me. Played this game a lot in handheld mode. Now, I'll also say I think some of the bosses are a little iffy, unbalanced. Some of them are super awesome, and I love it. It's my favorite part of the level, and then sometimes I'm like, this was just a weak design where I thought it was so easy that it was laughable, or some of them are frustrating because unlike other games like Mario, and I hate to compare Sonic to Mario, I know people get annoyed by that. They're different kinds of games, but Mario bosses, you always know what to do, I feel like, and they don't have to tell you. It just makes sense. There'll be something blinking or something about the gameplay that you understand where you can figure it out pretty easily. It's like intuitive. They teach you, there's a tutorial without giving you a tutorial. Like they make it make sense in the design. Where Sonic, sometimes I'm like, I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to outrun this guy? Am I supposed to attack him? And you just don't know. And you just kind of have to figure it out. It's trial by error. And I don't care. That's fine. I wouldn't mind but this game has game overs. So if you lose your lives, it'll make you go back to the beginning of a zone. And you have to play for another 10 minutes just to get back to that boss and try again. So it gets frustrating if you get a game over because of that. I haven't had too many. I did get to the oil stage a little bit later on, and that boss has given me a little frustration just figuring out exactly what I was supposed to do, and some deaths I didn't understand why they were happening. I know I'm not alone in that. I've heard some complaints about that one. I don't want to be too negative. I like the game a lot. Like I said, if I was reviewing it at this point, I'd probably be somewhere like a 7.5 to an 8, and I mean that as this is a good to great game, even by today's standards. But I think some reviews have been, this is the best Sonic game, it's 10 out of 10, they nailed it. I get that, but being an awesome 2D Sonic game from the 90s, to me, even if it is that a 10 out of 10 video game? I don't know. I think the 10 out of 10 is a rare thing. That's, a masterpiece level game. I don't know if I agree with that. Now, I get it. I get why people like it, and that's fine. But for me, a little bit lower. And I've heard some other things where people are like, there's some problems. But overall, super fun. I think I'll replay through it. Messed around a little bit in 2-player with my brother. Just like the olden days, he got to be Sonic, and I had to be Tails, which basically means you just kind of don't play until you get to the boss, and then he always kind of has me, do the hits for him, because Tails doesn't matter how many times he dies. It's funny. Reminded me, definitely, that's what I remember playing Sonic as a kid, being the younger brother. So definitely brought that back. But it's cool. I'm going to spend more time with it. I think it's a game that I can see myself replaying because it's not too long. It is fun action. It's immersive, and the music, like I said, is so cool. But I think a little of the hype might be a little overdrawn, where it's one of those things where in a couple of years, 2 years, if people look back, I don't know if they'll still be like, this is a 10 out of 10 game.
I know. I think they're trying to be encouraging. I think that's where the score, and they're comparing it to other Sonic games, where they should be comparing it to other video games.
In general,
the same.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Is it a great Sonic game? And no doubt. Mm-hmm. Is it a 10 out of 10 platformer?
When you start to think about other 10 out of 10 platformers, would you still give it that same score?
And I know it's not even just Mario. When you think about Rayman Legends and things, and how solid that is, they're different styles. Sonic is about rushing through these maze type levels, but I don't know if I think the polish on that level is there. It's great for Sonic, definitely a step in the right direction. Sonic has struggled in recent years, and I think that could play a role in this also. People are excited to see Sonic kind of return to form. But for me, this is a good to great game, not a fantastic to amazing game, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing. And a lot of reviewers are in the same mindset that I am, that it's a great game, right? And that's where a lot of scores have. But I've seen a lot pop up of perfect scores, and I question that a little bit. Everyone's opinion is different. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying my opinion's not quite that. So I think it's fair to say, kind of thing. But I think that probably wraps it up for us this week.
I unfortunately haven't been playing much because I've been watching a lot of anime.
But we've been watching a lot of the Fate series and things like that. And but sometimes when I'm playing, when I'm playing Agents of Mayhem, you're watching and partaking in that way. Yeah, but not quite as much. I'm still chugging away at Miitopia, so much longer than I expected.
Right?
But I do enjoy it. It's cool. It's one of those that I just pick it up and it's a good game. You don't have to focus 100%. You could I could watch baseball and play Miitopia at the same time. And it's that kind of thing. That's great. There's a super big place for that for me. Still play ARMS and Splatoon. And then tomorrow is the release of Rabbids Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and I cannot wait.
About that.
The reviews have been really positive, and which it's awesome. I was getting the feeling people's previews started to turn. When it first got announced, everyone was like, no, this looks stupid. And then it started to be more and more positive. And the reviews have come out, and they're great. I mean, it's Metacritic, so everyone's average is an 8.5, which is great. It's an awesome review. There's been a lot of 9s and things as well. Some lower, but overall, I think it definitely is surprising people. And I'm excited. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Just fun. Been waiting for that one. Kind of needed that next thing. That's why I was playing something like Agents of Mayhem.
That game is going to crack me up, I already know.
Oh, absolutely. So excited to pick that one up tomorrow. Sure, I'll have some impressions, early ones of that at least next week as well. But that's it for this week. We thank you again for joining us. We'll be back next week with more on the indies from Gamescom and my impressions of Mario Rabbids. And we will see you next time.
Bye!